Stone Fist Duran's record is even more impressive. 12 successful defenses of the world lightweight title guaranteed him a place in boxing history as one of the greatest fighters of all time. Only one of his challengers went the distance, and altogether he's lost just one fight in 71. He moved up a division because of considerable weight problems, but really he'd scared off all his main rivals. His chance for a crack at Leonard came when he beat the former welterweight champion Carlos Palomino, well known in Britain for fights against John Stracey and Dave Green. The three judges made Duran an emphatic winner. They all scored the fight 99-90 in the Panamanian's favor.
Palomino giving it a go right to the end, seemingly worn down by this sheer attrition of Duran. Must be the most distressing man to fight against. So that's it then, the countdown for one of the best non-title fights I've ever seen, and the crowd at Madison Square on their feet. Duran knows he's won this fight, drops to his knees. Duran there, calling out to the crowd, "I've done it," in Spanish. A little bit premature, of course, things have been known to go wrong. Waving of the Panamanian flag. One of the great lightweight champions of all time.
With two fighters of the class of Duran and Leonard, it was no surprise that we witnessed the kind of spectacle which took place last June. What was surprising were the tactics adopted by Leonard. He thought he could mix it with Duran and didn't make full use of the ring. As early as the second round, that was proving dangerous.
Oh, he's hurt there, Leonard, with that left hook. His feet definitely betrayed him a bit there. He was trying to move away, and as he did, he got caught with a punch, and he couldn't move the feet in time. This is where he's really got to fight to his limit now if Duran nails him again. Talked about Duran being one of the greatest lightweights of all time. This will really be something if he can walk in and take the higher division championship. And in replay now, there it is. Caught him with that left hook, and you watch those feet, they really sprayed apart there. Duran, look, they're trying not to be denied. Banging away at the ribs as Leonard held on with his own right hand.
Having weathered that storm, Leonard managed to claw his way back into the contest. He'd fought an unnatural fight, but had managed to retain his pride and contribute, as he had promised, to the making of a classic. But over the final few minutes, the title was slipping from his grasp as time ran out.
They kept this pace up for 15 rounds. It must have been like 50 for them. Yes, they earn a lot of money, but they deserve it. And they've worked for weeks and maybe months for this one. And Duran still showing that contempt in the dying minutes. And there's the countdown then to the end of this welterweight championship of the world. Just look at this, what a payoff this is going to be. Too late for a knockout now. The bell would go, of course, if there was a man down. What a flashy finish. There it is, it's all over. As we wait for the verdict. And both men jumping around saying, "I've won this fight, I've won this fight."
Duran did win, all three judges giving him the verdict. And so the scene is set for the return in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Naturally, the war of words has been building up. Duran promises blood this time and feels he'll win inside the distance. Leonard merely promises something different. Ever conscious of his image, he says he bears no animosity towards Duran, although his tongue isn't far removed from his cheek when he says of the world champion, I want my son to be just like him. Well, flying out this Friday to cover the fight exclusively for ITV is, as ever, Reg Gutteridge. Reg, you were one of those who actually thought Leonard should have got the verdict last time. Will it be as close this time?
Yeah, I didn't have any great row about it. And when I see that again, you know, it's all that I expect good boxing to be. I'm supposed to be a cold pro who doesn't care. But when I see that, it really turns me on. And I really wouldn't have an argument about that decision. And I think probably our output probably favoured Duran. But he missed with a few punches. And I've never seen a ringside so divided in an opinion. Good judges, other than me, sat around the ringside making one round to one fellow or one round to the other. And you really can't get it closer than that.
A lot of people felt Leonard lost it purely and simply because of his approach, because of his tactics. Was that the case? And should he change his tactics now?
I had a long discussion with Angelo Dundee's trainer about this, and I have a great admiration for the way Sugar Ray Leonard went to try and take the fight on sheer strength and guts and ability when he could have been forgiven for hitting and running a little bit or hit and hop it. And I think he may do that in New Orleans. And in Montreal, surprisingly enough, they were with Duran more than they were with Leonard. And I think in America they'll be with him. And I think, yes, he'll box a bit more this time and stay out of the clinches.
A lot of people seem to be going for Leonard now, possibly they're questioning Duran's appetite.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he owns a beach, he calls it his beach in Panama, called the Duran Beach. And I once said to him, why do you call it Duran Beach? He said, because it's mine, and anybody I don't want on it, I just beat the hell out of. Well, when people talk to you like that, you've got to have, he'll have enough appetite.
Right, well, let me put you on the spot then. Who's going to win?
I want to see the judges first, but in America, I have to say, I think Leonard will just about get it this time, but I tell you what, it's going to be a great fight again. It has to be a great fight.
Champion Roberto Duran of Panama and Sugar Ray Leonard of the United States. Their first fight in June was described as a classic, so no wonder there was a great atmosphere in the New Orleans Superdome, with some spectators paying as much as $1,000, £500, for a ringside seat. And the coolest people inside the Superdome in the minutes leading up to the fight, well, probably the boxers themselves. First, the challenger, Sugar Ray Leonard. He's age 24, the golden boy of American boxing. Olympic gold medalist in Montreal. And before last night, he'd had 28 fights and had had only one defeat, and that was against Roberto Duran. And what about Duran? Well, he's 29, nicknamed Stone Fists, and he's regarded as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. And coming to this fight, he'd had 73 wins and only one defeat. Well, what a setting it was, the New Orleans Superdome, the world's largest indoor arena, and it seats more than 60,000 spectators. And in amongst them all was our commentator, Reg Gutteridge.
For this man Duran, and about 7 million for Leonard for the rematch of the Welterweight Championship of the World, billed as the super fight at the Superdome. And the big surprise, I thought, was the late announcement of two British referees, Mike Jacobs from London, who's only been a Class A referee since May, and James Brimmel from Cardiff. And the third one is a Frenchman, Jean Desbois. And the referee does not score. So there you are, that's the background information, and now it's down to these fellows. And I think Ray Leonard, as he said to me before the fight, I'm going to show him that I can box. I fought Duran's type of fight last time, trying to show him the strength of a macho bit, he said, but this time I plan to box, and this kid can really do it. Now, that's not me, by the way. That's the names of the commentators on the American theaters. It will not be seen on American home television for 21 days yet. And the referee managing to stay out of the picture as these two take stock. Although after 15 rounds from the fight in Montreal only last June, they should know enough about each other. Now this is the Duran technique of always trying to wear the other man down, intimidate him, wear him down almost like a virus. Leonard giving himself now a lot of room in the ring. He wants to move right around the perimeter, pick his punches off. He hits correctly as England's Dave Green obviously knows he was knocked out by a left hook from this fellow, and he really is taking a bit of command in the opening round now, Ray Leonard. He was slow getting off in the last fight, and they could hardly hear the bell there with the noise in the stadium. And Duran in the corner with the boxing sunshine boys, Ray Arcel, who's 81. Ray Arcel, a real Runyon-esque character. He's had 11 world champions under his wing. Round 2 then. And a good start, it seems to me, with Leonard. He's obviously now his tactics are going to be box, frustrate Duran. He was a pro when he was 16. He's now 29. Still somehow manages to retain that appetite both for the fight game and for the money it brings him. Because remember that in Panama, he doesn't have to pay any taxes because he's world champion. And Ray Leonard, within the space of 5 months, has now earned $16.5 million. So who said the fight game was going when Muhammad Ali went out? Inevitable that Duran has got to try and rough Leonard up. He's got to try and draw him into a fight. He can't afford to stand up, and a good shot by Leonard. The right hand punches, catching Duran square on. Tremendous start to the fight again. Can this keep up now for 15 rounds? Moving on to that champion's right hand now, but knows how to smother in close quarters, holding a little bit there. And the referee agreeing. He's in. Good refereeing. Countdown then for the second round. And I think words may have been exchanged there by Duran. And there's Ray Arcel really pouring a lot of wisdom there in Duran's corner, but Angelo Dundee doing likewise for Ray Leonard. And he said before he felt that Leonard could outbox and outstrengthen. Well, that's it. As he say, get this guy on the ropes and keep him there. You really don't have to look for characters in the American fight game. It's a proper Klondike. Round 3. Good start by Leonard. Duran came back a bit in that second round, and with aggression. Good clean punches coming from the challenger. The early alley there, isn't it, in Leonard? And Duran may have to wait all night if he's waiting for Leonard to slow down. Really relaxed, quite content to try and frustrate the champion. Make him play into his hands if he can. It's a bit risky. Leonard meeting Duran punch for punch on the ropes right above this commentary position. Really gripping him. What a fight this is again. judges, if this keeps up, are going to have a job sorting out those fractions of points at the end. They have to hand in the scorecard after each round. Duran smirking a little bit now at Leonard, trying to rattle him a bit. Leonard only 24, but boxes like a veteran, knows all the tricks of the trade. Look at the confidence in that boy now. And the replay here of that exchange right above me on the ropes. You can really hear those punches thudding in. Leonard cleverly turns away, gets out of trouble. There's the old boy, Ray Arcel again, trying to make Duran charge into this man. Round 4. Leonard seemingly listening to the words of Angelo Dundee. To stick and move, they call that. That means jab with the left hand and move. Always use fast punches to try and keep Duran bothered and worried where the next one's coming from. It looks like Leonard can ad-lib his strategy. Great amateur experience, of course. Gold medal at Montreal. And overall won more medals, I think, than Montgomery, and he had an army to help him. Duran getting to Leonard a bit now. Than he did in Montreal. He's learned from that first fight. He tried to stand there and swat punches in the middle of the ring and wrestle too much with Duran. Midway through the round, champion trying to land that right hand. He really shook Leonard in the first fight. In the second round, the odds makers in Las Vegas, Jimmy the Greek, strange odds, 6.5 to 5 on Leonard. Pushes into his knees and gets away with it too often. Both claiming, as always, that they're fitter for this fight. And they were for the last. They're coming up to the end of round 4. Oh, and almost some after-bell punches. He's spinning him, Dundee, saying, turning him round. He really is instilling all the confidence in the world in that man.
Peter Boston here. Peter Boss.
Well, there you are. Lovely Runyon-esque stuff from New York. Beat a boss, he's saying. Round 5. Leonard got off to a great start. Duran pulled back a little bit. Still obviously a long way to go. Champion of the world, took it from Ken Buchanan at Madison Square Garden back in '72. 6 years, a lightweight champion. Roberto, there's a loose ball in the ring. There's going to be trouble there as he went round there. No, not there. That was a slip. I don't think Duran pushed him. He may have helped him a bit on his way, but it was probably in the wet of Leonard's own corner. You can see the rosin dust on his black pants. The officials here from the Louisiana Commission will worry about that board. It looks loose to me in the middle of the ring, around there somewhere. That's dangerous. Letting them get on with this close quarter stuff until one grab. And some replay then. Yeah, no, it looked as though he slipped there. He threw that left to the body, but he was on his way down.
You hurt him that time. Go right out. Pick him on the ropes and punch.
Well, what a second he is, isn't he, that man? 80-odd years old and can still think a good fight from the corner. Into round 6. Roberto Duran defending the welterweight championship against Sugar Ray Leonard. And again, I'm looking for that loose board there in the ring, which, if it gets worse, they could actually stop the fight while they get underneath to shore it up. I hope that doesn't happen, because they're really getting into full strength now, these two. Not only a point scorer, it hurts when Leonard lands with it like that, and when he turns it into a left hook, it's really a beach of a punch. Definite signs of frustration, I think, with Duran. He doesn't know how to check this fellow. The thing with Leonard, he takes such a good punch. He only took 2 counts as an amateur, and got up and won the fight in the round that he went down in. Yeah, just you see there, the spring in the board on Leonard's right foot on the left-hand side of the ring. Around there somewhere. There it is. It looks dangerous to me. Causing trouble now. They'll have to do something about this. Obviously affects both fighters, but Leonard more, because he's using that ring, and that speed of foot is so important to him. And I can see from across the ring the Louisiana officials are worried about that and calling for somebody to get under the ring. For Duran, but he hasn't used them enough yet for this fellow, has he? He was quite well ahead at this stage of the game. In this replay now, anything goes with Duran, and when he misses with a punch, he falls in with a head, and he moves it from side to side. He gets hit a lot less than it appears. Notice that one. Probably looked like a good punch from the back of this arena. There he is, major stockholder in his own corporation, this fellow. primitive enough. Go, don't wait for him, punch in the belly with both hands, they said. Seventh round. And there you see the commissioner of the Louisiana Commission wondering what they're doing about the ring, but the crowd don't care about that as long as the action goes on. Well, Duran might be snarling, but I think deep inside he's hoping that Leonard will stand still just for 1 second while he nails him, because he's having a lot of trouble. This is one time in a fight that Duran hasn't been able to impose his will on the opponent. Well, we're going to get some flashy stuff now from Leonard, and when he does that, Duran would have trouble hitting him with a bag of rice. Now you know why he's the all-American hero out here. He really has taken over from Ali in a big way. And yet outside the ring, he's not arrogant at all. Look at this, real showboating, and this is the town for it. I think that will infuriate Duran. He couldn't stand suffering humiliation. That's the worst thing. You notice there's 4 ropes they have here, an extra safety factor to stop the boxers going out. Well, I haven't seen this outside of an Ali fight. Nobody does it. Oh, what do you know about this? It's almost like a film script. If they put this in a Rocky film, nobody would believe it. Well, he didn't like that, Duran. He's been really upstaged. He didn't approve of Leonard's antics at all, but the crowd here in this magnificent Superdome really loved that. Let's have a look at it in replay. And the good right hand, that really stunned Duran too, that punch. And he started the trouble by saying, come on, and then you get the Ali shuffle from Leonard. Well, they nearly fell on top of me as they came across the ring there. Really is great stuff. Leonard enjoyed himself. Duran a little bit sick, I would have thought about that. Says don't wait for him. He has no option. Now, what's the problem here? Now, this is not the ring board. There's probably some water or grease on Duran's body. Been a little bit fastidious there, the Mexican referee. They take time off for that. Now, how is Duran going to deal with the flash stuff from Leonard, who has taken over in a big way? Which you really can put up, I think, with that flashiness when this fellow has so much ability and gameness to go with it. Well, they say the fight business is really show business with blood. Although, strange enough, there's no blood in this fight at all. Only just a bit of blood in the eyes of Duran, who really hates being humiliated by Leonard. running now, Duran. Out of ideas now, Duran, isn't he? He's just not catching Leonard as easy as he was at the middle part of that fight, the third and fourth round. Here we go again, I think, hitching up his trunk. Let alone the flash stuff. They're so crisp and accurate, those punches coming in. There it is, that right hand, the start. And of course, we were able to see this fight in Britain 21 days before they can see it on home television in America. Oh! Duran doing around here, he's saying, I don't understand what's going on here. He's quit, Duran. I don't believe this. I don't believe this in the 8th round. What's going on? Now Duran wants to fight one of the seconds. He's out of his mind. Has he injured a hand? More likely got a broken heart. I really don't understand what Duran's done. I think I've seen more than my fair share of fights. Larry Holmes, the heavyweight champion, is in front of me. He doesn't understand either what's going on.
That's what it looks like to me. I don't understand it.
I don't believe this. Well, we have to believe it because it's happened. Leonard spotted it. I thought perhaps for a minute he caught him in the eye and blinded him or something, or that he'd broken his hand. It could be a million reasons. Never of a fight of this magnitude could you see a most ridiculous finish, although Duran knew that he was getting beaten out of sight. An absolute brilliant performance by Sugar Ray Leonard. And let's see if this gives us any indication in replay, but I doubt it. Look, he quit there, right on the spot. And he took those extra punches. He just made up his mind that he'd had enough. Just at the finish of the 8th round, one of the greatest upsets in the history of boxing.
So Sugar Ray Leonard has beaten Roberto Duran in remarkable circumstances in New Orleans, with Duran turning his back on the fight in the 8th round. As we look at that moment again, just why did the champion Duran turn his back on the fight, and indeed on the title as well? Just what did happen? In New Orleans, the fight reporters are still trying to piece it all together. There was instant reaction on ABC's television coverage in America from the world heavyweight champion Larry Holmes.
I think that many fans that Duran have should not condemn Duran for surrendering in the middle of the ring like that. Maybe Duran had a problem. Maybe he couldn't continue. So I don't think all the Duran fans should put him down or feel bad about it, because he put on a hell of a fight for the time that he fought. But you cannot take anything away from Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a superior boxer. He's a good athlete. He's a good sportsman. And he'll be around for a long time.
And now for the latest news and the latest developments. Let's go straight across to New Orleans, where our reporter Reg Gutteridge has been talking further with Don King and really wanted to know the answer to the vital question, what on earth did Duran have to gain by apparently giving it all up halfway through the fight?
Absolutely nothing. In fact, he's going to have quite a difficult time, Reggie, explaining, because, the Panamanians, their heroes have an occupation. They have a job. You have to go on the job of being a hero. Everybody worships you and idolizes you and looks up to you. And this young man, his valor, his courage, his ability has put him in that type of a frame in everybody's mind in Panama and throughout South America, Latin America, and Central America. So it's a situation here that he has everything to lose, nothing to gain. They couldn't give him $100 million to be able to live in the streets of Panama where everybody is respected for their macho, their guts, their courage, and he's been a fighter's fighter, a champion's champion. He's been a dream fighter. And to do anything that he couldn't with, voluntarily by free will and volition of this sort would be absolutely insane.
Well, the latest saga of the super fight is that Roberto Duran was rushed to hospital at 3 a.m. in the morning, which was then diagnosed as severe abdominal pains. The trainers didn't know he's gone. Even the promoter hadn't realized that he was going to hospital. And then he surprised us after 8 hours there of severe tests to come back through the side entrance of a hotel where, in fact, we were waiting around, and then rushed into the lobby with a more or less whimsical look, shrugged his shoulders, and was reunited with Ray Arcel, who kissed him on the cheek. And then he said he was all right, that he, in fact, had been cleared after these tests. And then they ushered him into the elevator. And for Duran, he didn't hide his face, but I think his hardest fight is now to come, having to go home to face his own people. Well, Ray Leonard, a shock, the ending, a great victory for you. How did you see it? Did you at any time think he was going to, as we say in Britain, retire on you during the fight?
Well, I knew I was upsetting Duran by boxing him. I confused Duran. I used scientific techniques. I beat Duran on sheer boxing, and he couldn't understand that. The first fight, physical fight. All the, let's say, ring tactics and rules and regulations were forgotten about. But this time around, different story altogether. And one thing about it, the people couldn't accept that. They tried to make excuses. Duran, he just gave up.
I mean, you use the word quit, would you, when you say that or not?
I would say Duran quit because a man of his caliber, I think he did what was best for himself, for his own health.
In other words, you think you could have stopped him and beat him up, as they say in America?
Well, I was getting stronger as the rounds progressed. I was getting more confident. I was getting closer. I was landing more effective blows. I think it's not only a shock to Duran's camp, but a shock to the public itself.
Yes, it certainly is. And Duran is in hospital today. Have you had any latest word on that?
No, and I hope it's not anything serious. Because after the fight, I walked over towards him, and we embraced, and that proves there was mutual respect. And that's class.
Yeah, they talk about him having stomach cramp and all that sort of thing. At one point, you said it might have been heartburn. You were jokingly saying that. Do you think he sort of ran out of spirit? Did you do that to him?
Yes, I feel that I mesmerized Duran. I nullified him mentally because he couldn't hit me. I mean, he thought it would be the same way that was in Montreal, being a stationary target. I had more mobility to myself. I was moving lateral position. I didn't give him a stationary target.
Angelo, how do you react to that show-off stuff, as we call it, in the 7th round with Ray?
Well, I just think he broke down all his morale with that because it was his thing. But like I always tell you, he's a multifaceted young man, and you haven't seen the best.